Hi, I'm Ted Pattison. Welcome to the Office Developer Screencast Virtual Tour. In this video tutorial, we're going to talk about creating Windows SharePoint Services sites that support the new Wiki and Blog features. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple site, and I'm going to add a special new list type that's a wiki. And I'm going to go through and show you the support for growing out a wiki over time. Secondly, inside my site, I'm going to create a child site that supports the blogging infrastructure. And I'll go ahead and show you how you can maintain a blog and even how you can use Microsoft Word 2007 as your editor for creating blogs and posting them to your site. So I'm going to start off this demo by playing the role of the administrator. So let's go up to Administrative Tools, and let's go crank up the SharePoint 3.0 Central Administration Web Application so we can create a new site collection. So the IT Pro will go to Create Site Collections. Under Create Site Collections, we'll create a new site. This one will be Ted's site, and it will be at the URL Ted's site. And also the username in this scenario will be Ted, which hopefully can be resolved from our database. And we'll just go ahead and create a blank site. Go ahead and choose OK. So now we're going through the site provisioning process, and we're creating a very straight ahead, very blank, very vanilla WSS 3.0 site. And inside the site is first we'll create our wiki, and then we'll go ahead and create our blog. Now, once the site opens up, I'll go ahead and I'll change over the security context, so I'll be running as Ted instead of running as the administrator, to simulate, more what a actual user would see. Now, when I create the wiki pages, I'm going to create the wiki pages as a document library. It turns out you can have the option of building the wiki page as either a document library. Now, I'm trying to go over to the site, but it's telling me you can't go there because the administrator has no permissions to get there. But if I decide I want to sign on as a different user, and we'll go ahead and put the user Ted inside there, we can now demonstrate a neat capability of this version of SharePoint, and that is we just don't allow people with central administration permissions to get to each and every site collection. That was one of the problems with WSS v2. Okay, so now what we're going to do, here's my site. So we're going to start off by going to Site Actions and saying Create. Now once again, I can create just a wiki page library. That's what I'm going to create here. If I wanted to, I could create a whole new site that's a child site as a wiki site. But when I create the blog, I'll create the blog as a child site. Just note that you could create the wiki as just a document library within a site or as a child site. So we'll go ahead and create a new wiki page library. I'll just go ahead and create that as wiki. And now that I have this wiki page library, what I want to do is let's go ahead and create our first wiki page. So I'll go ahead and choose New, and just by convention I'm going to call it Home. And then we'll have to give our wiki some kind of a name. Let's say we wanted to teach people all about SharePoint, so we have something like the SharePoint Insiders Sneaky Wiki. And down here we'll tell people all about SharePoint. So we'll say something like SharePoint Products and Technologies is made up of, and then there's two things we care about, which is WSS and MOS. Now coming up here, I want to make this look a little bit bigger, so notice that I have a rich text editor. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. But when I create these pages right here, I'm going to do this special trick. The things that I want to be links off to other pages, even creating the pages as we go, I'm going to use this format of double open square bracket, double close square bracket. So I'll do the same thing with WSS and with MOS. So we'll go ahead and we'll choose OK. Okay, so now we have our first page inside here. So notice that when someone comes here, they can say SharePoint Insiders Sneaky Wiki. Well, I don't really like that. Notice that it's pretty easy for you to now click on this edit button. Come back here. We realize we want a little bit more space in between those. We'll go ahead and choose OK. Okay, now it's starting to look good. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to start adding these other pages. So let's go ahead and add the WSS page. Note that this is underlined. When a link is underlined, it's saying it's pointing to a page that hasn't yet been created. So if I go ahead and click on that, notice that it automatically creates the page. So let's go ahead and say something about Windows SharePoint Services 3.0, commonly known as WSS. And we'll say WSS is a, and we'll just mention that as a site provisioning engine that allows users to create templates. It also ships with out of the box collaboration features. I'll come back up here. Once again, I'll make my font a little bit bigger. And let's say I also want to allow someone to get back to the home page, so I can say return, and I can say home. So I can say return to home. I'll go ahead and I'll create this page right here, and you see that I can get back to home, and now I can basically go back and forth these two links. Now let's say that, let me jump back into edit for a second. Down here, if the page was home, but I wanted the label inside that hyperlink to be different, I can just put the pipe, and then I can put something like home page. And I'll go ahead and choose OK right here. And now when I say return to home page, it's actually going to take me to home.aspx. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go to the Moss page right here. And now we'll say Microsoft SharePoint Office Server 2007, known by its followers as Moss. Moss is a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll come back up here and we'll go ahead and make that bigger. And then we'll also say return to, just like before, we'll say home and put down the pipe and say home page. Go ahead and choose create. Okay, now that I'm here, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that, let's say that we have a need to put a graphic in this page right here. So notice that I can go up to Site Actions and I can say Edit Page. And there's a particular web part zone that they put at the bottom of these pages. So I can go ahead and choose Add Page. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go down to Miscellaneous Web Parts. Let's go ahead and find the image web part. I'll go ahead and choose OK. Now if you had a picture library, you could copy the pictures up here and you could basically just link to them inside. In this case right here, what I'm going to do is, just to do something quick, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to link to something that I know is part of the default installation. So if I say layouts, images, and I just choose the cust preview for the customer preview PNG file, and I go ahead and choose apply, I can go ahead and stick a graphic right inside the page right there at the bottom. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'll go ahead and get out of edit mode. So this is outside the context of what you're putting inside the wiki page, but notice that it's just a regular content page. And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and open this up with the SharePoint Designer and do additional changes to any of these wiki pages as well. Okay, let's make a couple more changes. Let's say up in the top nav bar, we wanted our wiki to show up. So maybe I wanted to link to this page right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go up to the top here and grab a web application relative URL. So it starts with sites. And now that I have that, let's go back here. Let's go over to Site Settings. Under Site Settings, I'm going to click on Top Link Bar. I'm going to go to the link bar. There's only home, and I'll go ahead and I'll add this new URL inside there, this relative URL, and I'll go ahead and point people to my wiki. So now people can come home and they can also jump right into my wiki when they come to the site, and now they can start surfing around and looking at the information inside here. Now, one last thing that I wanted to show about working with this environment right here is that, let's say I go down to edit mode right here. I go down to edit mode, and then I say something like, even my mom uses WSS, you should too. So maybe one day I put in something that maybe I didn't really mean to put in afterwards. So you can always go back and you can take a look at the history. So now if I go down and take a look at history, I can see what's inside there. If I come down here and say version history, since this is a document library, it's using a lot of the basic capabilities of document libraries, such as the ability to go down here and do versioning. Actually, it's not a document library. It's a list, but it's using the basic list capabilities. So if I go down here and after the fact I decide, I really shouldn't have put that inside there. I'd like to roll back to a previous version, so I can go ahead and choose Restore right here. And now when users come and take a look at what I have, and they come down here, basically we can roll back or roll ahead to any of the versions that have been put inside there. Okay, so that's the basic functionality that we get from a wiki site. Okay, so now that we've created the wiki, it's time to create the blog. So I'm going to create the blog as a child site. So if I go down to Site Actions, and I go to the Create page, I'm going to go down to the link for Sites and Workspaces. So I'll create a new child site, and I'll name that blog, and I'll go ahead and also make the URL to that blog. I'm going to leave all these default options so that when I create it, they'll put a link to the child site inside the top level nav bar, and they'll hook the child site's nav bar into the parent's nav bar. And the one thing I'll change down here is the site template to the blog type site template. So I go ahead and create the site, and now that I've created the site right here, notice that I can go through and it's already hooked in. Now that I've created this site, notice that since I have ownership permissions here, that I'm able to see admin links that no one else can see. At the very end, I'll go ahead and log on as a less privileged user, so we can see that they're not going to see the same console of administration options. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of these categories. So if I say manage categories, categories 1, 2, and 3 aren't quite as descriptive as I'd like. So I'll go back here and I'll remove those. And I'm going to put in a couple categories that are much better for me. And what I plan to do is I have plans to make posts that are technical and also some posts that are personal. So now that I have those, just going back to the homepage of the blog, notice that someone's going to be able to query and see my technical or personal posts. There's also some blog lists links right here. So I'm going to go to Manage Blog Lists, and this is just other blogs that I find interesting that I want to link my people to. So if I choose New, I can come up here and I can type in, so if I type in blogs.msdn.com, and maybe since Mike Fitzmaurice has always been a great role model to me, I'll go ahead and put Mike Fitz as one of the blogs out on the internet that people are going to find interesting. And so notice that when people come to my blog, they're going to be able to see all these lists of different bloggers. They'll be able to click this, and they'll be able to go over and see this other set of blogs that I list right there. Okay, and let's go down. There's a picture of Mike down below. Okay, now let's go ahead and manage posts. Well, they give you this first post, and that's not my blog entry, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. So I'll come back here, and I'll delete this item right here. And now that we've done that, if I go back to this, under the Administrative Console, I'm going to choose Create a Post. So I choose Create a Post, and I'll put my first blog entry, and I'll spell that correctly just because it is my first blog entry, and my mom's probably going to be reading this, so I'll say hi mom, and then look at me. I am a blogger. I'm very excited about that, so I better take this and put this in a different color so people can see exactly how excited I am about putting in my first blog. What category do I want to put that under? I want to put that under technical. Now notice that when I'm done, I could either publish this right to the site so everyone can see it, or if I'm not quite sure, I might want to work on it later before people see it, I could also save it as a draft. So it's just using SharePoint's out-of-the-box publishing capabilities to approve something before it goes live. Also note that anyone who's coming and seeing my blog can click on the RSS feed. One little tip, if you are using the blog right here, if I go and say view all site content, and I go down to the posts inside here, if I go to posts and I go ahead and click on this, it's just a document library. So if I go under here and I choose on, or it's not a document library, it's just a list with content behind it. If I go to list settings and click on, if I go to version settings and I click on this, there's require content approval for submitted items. If you have a blog and you want to expose that over the internet and you want to allow anonymous access, there is an issue. Some people who didn't write the product might even refer to it as a bug that basically says you have to turn this off or it's going to make everybody authenticate before they can get to the blog. So if you're trying to expose it first anonymous access, just go to the version settings and turn this off. Okay, now I've got my posts inside this blog right here. Now what I'd like to do is show you the capabilities of a different product. So if I come down here and I crank up Microsoft Word, let's crank up Microsoft Word, and instead of doing my entries with that very limited HTML interface, I'd like to express myself in Word. So I go down and I'm going to say new blog entry. So it's a whole new document type. And there's this little thing that says, well, you've never registered to go ahead and post items from Word to a blog, so register now. So notice that there's this new Internet API for blogging. So I'm going to say register now, choose your blog provider, of which SharePoint is one of the provider types. I'll go ahead and choose next. Now if I come back here and I go ahead and take the URL to my site, let's go ahead and put that in place right here. And also I might want to just take pictures or diagrams and paste them right inside this Word document and expect those just to be uploaded. That's going to happen automatically for free. The only thing I need to do is make sure that I have some type of document library or photo library back here. So note that out of the box, that when you create the blog site, they give you a photos library. So I could use this, or I could just create another document library that's going to store my images. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the path to that right there. And I'm going to come back here and say post images to the following location. I'll go ahead and choose OK. It says account registration successful. So now I'm going to say my first Word blog post. And then I'm going to get into some very interesting technical information. I have been using Paintbrush. So me and my technical crowd are big paintbrush users. Here is what I did. And now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go down here and we're going to go ahead and start up Paintbrush. And so now that I've started Paintbrush, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this smaller. And because I'm a very advanced paintbrush user, I know I can come down here and pick various colors and make something that looks really good inside there. And now I'll make one more change and make something that looks really good inside there. And now what we'll do is we'll put a little squiggly. And now that I've gotten this really neat thing that I want to show all my technical peers, what I'm going to do inside here is I'm going to take a screen capture. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and hit print screen so that now I can go back to Word and simply paste this in. So maybe I'll take that, and now that I've done that, I want to go ahead and publish. So if I can publish or publish as draft, so it supports both metaphors. But if I go ahead and choose publish, it writes the stuff back up there. And when I'm all done, let's go ahead and close out Word. And maybe I'll just kind of save this as I go. You know, what I should be able to do is I should be able to verify that we can go back here and now see my last blog post. You know, and if I want to see how this works, you know, note that if I look at site content, if I look at posts, well, there's my first entry that I added in through the HTML interface. There's my second entry that I got added in through Word. And what's more, if I go look at the photos library, you know, you can see that behind the scenes that Word is just adding these all up there. It's adding these inside here, and it's going ahead and adding them up and giving them whatever names it wants to give them. You know, I don't really care about what the name is. Okay, so as a final exercise, let's go ahead and see what another user is going to see. So I'm going to go up to my site. I'm going to go up to people and groups, and I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and add a user. So if we say something like authenticated users, and we go ahead and say OK, and then we want to have these users just be visitors, so we want to give them read access, you know, the things going on inside the site. So now that we've done that, I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to sign out as me, Ted, the owner of the site. And now that we've done that, it's going to close out of this right here. And HTTP, and let's go back to Litware Server 01 site/TED site. And so if I go ahead and I want to sign on as a different user, I'm going to sign in as Bob and put a password in place right there, choose OK. And so now it signs in as this user Bob, and now I can start seeing that, you know, when Bob gets to the wiki page, that he doesn't have the ability to edit, you know, but he's going to be able to see things like history. He's going to be able to start tracking and seeing the information, and when he goes and looks at my blog, he's not going to see the administrative links, but he's going to be able to see what I've done, and that's going to give me the ability to start publishing all kinds of information.